Welcome to 12.5 Minutes. My name is Jared Kelly, and I'm with my friend, best friend, and co-host, Liz Whitehead.
Jared,
Good to see you again.
you too. You too.
We have a great episode today, and I'm thoroughly excited about it because partially what you're telling me is that we're going to get into branding, and we started this great brand called 12.5 Minutes, named after your company and after some of the things that you do in terms of bringing great insights and value to businesses and how we can do that in a short period of time. But with all that branding, I think we could probably use some clarity. So there's your lead in. Who are we going to meet today?
We are going to talk to Brooke Foley, who I've known for many years through WeBank. And I got to know more about her company through knowing more about what she does for other WBEs and other certified businesses, which is substantial. And she's had a lot of success in the network with both her business and making an impact. So I thought she'd be a perfect person for us to talk to today.
Excellent. I think she is too. Brooke, please come in and join us for 12.5 minutes.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi. Love that you guys are doing this.
Hi. Well, thank you. Thank you. We are excited to have you. And I love the background because this is getting us right to the point, which is one of our phrases. Let's get to the point. Um, if you could, I read a little bit about the Jayne Agency, but give us a little bit of color in terms of how you came up with the idea of starting the Jayne Agency, because your name is Brooke Foley and I don't hear Jayne in it. But if you could, just give us a little bit of clarity about that.
Well, when I started the company, I had worked in the creative industry for a long time, and there was a series of people that were offering me different identities and logos. I had started the company, but I still didn't have a name. I hadn't incorporated, and it was things like bread and lettuce and all these things that sounded bountiful, but weren't necessarily the brand I wanted. And I knew I was going to be doing something with brand, obviously, for a lifetime. And I knew I was going to have to answer for my name. And so I created a brief, which is what we specialize in, is, getting down to the brass tacks of what goes into the creative from a strategy standpoint. And so the brief was that I wanted something feminine, but not girly, modern with a hint of vintage, and simple with a twist. And so that kind of eliminated, and it gave me a basis for saying what wasn't right for Jayne Agency at that time. It wasn't named yet. And somebody brought forward the name Jayne. And then when they first said it to me, I was like, and they said spelled Jayne. And I was like, oh, that's the name. And then the logo came from somebody sitting inside of a strategy and insight session with us. And at the time it was my sister, we both have the same genetic twist in terms of strategy and how we think about things. And we were like going at it strategically. And he came out and he was like, whoa, that was insane. And he had the tattoo hardly ever wrong down his aorta. And the next morning, the logo was in my inbox, and he was like, "I don't care what you say, this is the logo for your company." And I was like, "Yeah, you're hardly ever wrong."
Oh, wow. That is impressive. And there's a lot of trust in that.
Yeah.
I love how you took your own medicine too. You weren't just like, oh yeah, we grabbed it out of a hat. You're like, we did the brief, we did what we tell our clients to do, and came up with something that's really cool.
Yeah, we do end up taking our own medicine a lot. At least every 2 years.
So tell us about, I know you've done so much to help other WBEs and you're continuing to do that with other certified diverse businesses, but tell us about the growth of your own company. How have you been successful in these networks and just successful in general?
We have been doing a lot of listening. I mean, we've been really paying attention. The business grew really strong when I first started it, and it grew straight out from under what I loved most, which was the strategy. We went quickly into media and technology and a whole bunch of things where, it was almost like every government contract was like, and if you have this, then you can get this contract. So we were like, okay, we'll add that in. And one day I just didn't recognize my business anymore. And when we sat down and really focused from a P&L standpoint, what we did our own process, what made us most happy and provided the most profitability to us. it wasn't the growth that was happening. It was in this space that was starting to languish because it wasn't getting attention. It didn't have the same requirements and demands that the other part of the businesses had. And so we had to do some restructuring really intensely. And when we did that, we really started to focus in on the small, diverse, certified SBA level clients. And that led us to a path where we really had a specialty inside of helping small to mid-sized businesses create clarity within their business, the 10 assets that really level set their brand. And we were working actually with a lot of Marcom, Martech, and even branding agencies were using our methodology. When COVID hit, we just had an expansive amount of education and we did a lot of give back. And I think, Liz, that's even when you and I got introduced to each other, it was during that time frame. We probably did around 10 million in give back and we touched about 4,000 businesses directly. And we had all this data and we would come out of those sessions. And while it was really impactful and helpful, people would come to us and say, can we just, get a couple hours? We'll pay you a fee. We just didn't have that infrastructure. Our businesses, an $18,000 to $30,000 strategy session for a day and some follow-up sessions that help complete that. And we are really good at what we do. We nail it. We get it done, but not every business owner wants to solve things that way or has access to it. And so 9 out of 10 times somebody wasn't my client and I would say, okay, and my heart would be heavy that we couldn't at least do something. And so we took all that data and we took the amount of people that we had to say, like, this isn't the right fit for you, or it's not the right fit for us. And we said, how do we solve for that? And we developed Clarity University, which has been the most striking growth in our business, which allows an unlimited amount of suppliers or business owners, business leaders. We've had CMOs, we've had people transitioning from one career to the next. We've had startups, we've had venture capitalists come into it, and everyone uses it actually for what they want to use it for, not what we produced it for. And we're just watching month after month cohorts of people really find what they need and solve their brand strategy problems. And if you asked me if I was going to be doing that 10 years ago, letting other people solve their brand strategy problems, I'd be like, I don't even know how you could assure that, but it's been amazing. So that's how we've grown.
Amazing. As someone with that has an online course, and I know all that goes into it, I would love to talk to you more about that as well. Because that's exactly it. It's like, all right, I have this price point, and this is a price point which lets me pay my bills and eat, but I want to help all these other people get successful too and know what I know and do that, not just a knowledge, training, but a real skills transfer.
But we're in this obviously with an intention that is to not only be of service, but to also be profitable in that service. And so that kind of leads me to another question, because a part of this is about impact. And we can give away services, sure, but that's time. But there are definitely companies or stories that are probably singing your praises about how you made a dramatic impact in their organization. Do you have an example of that people might relate to?
I do, but before I do that, I just want to jump in and say the reason I jumped up at the idea of being on this podcast was to say, I am so supportive of how you created this podcast. It's so strategic. It's so spot on. It's so clear. And I just wanted to give my personal sort of stamp of like, hey, I buy that. I buy into it. Because I don't know that we get that kind of endorsement. And that's actually what you're asking about, Jared. And so I wanted to start by saying it's the personal endorsements that start the real momentum of the belief chain. And that's where the clarity really comes through. And so one of the things we focused on is we do a lot inside of, it's not exactly an online course. It's more of an online offline cohort of personal accountability that moves through a set of stages and common education. And by the end, the participants are actually supporting each other more than we are, which is the point in which you see them really embracing their own brand strategy and their own ability to steward. And that's really amazing when you get to see that. But what we did is we built in a series of surveys that come before and after, and a series of in-session activities that we measure. And after each cohort, after each week and after each cohort, we meet as a team and debrief on what we need to adjust or change or what we're seeing. And so we're using the first year. So we have until November. So we're almost at the year. We're using the first year as a beta. So we're basically claiming like anything is fair game, but we've just been in a constant state of test, learn, test, learn, test, learn, test, learn. And because of that, we've been able to ask people, hey, can you give us feedback on this? Can you do this? Can you do that? And that led to a series of just unprompted external like testimonials on LinkedIn and Google reviews and different things. And we said, you know what? We have to capitalize on that. So we're now actively asking for those things as we relate to people. And we're using those survey results and those testimonials as a way to say, here's what we're doing next. So we're using it as listening, we're using it as communication, we're using it as a touch of customer service. And then we're also using it to drive our, quarterly updates and things like that. So.
Amazing. I love what you said. It's listening, right? Which is what this kind of thing is all about. Really taking the time to listen to a business owner beyond just the pitch or the 30 seconds, like really, how are you making an impact? But then also listening to your customers to make what you do better. It's great.
And that's actually part of what we, I think collectively, the three of us collectively look forward to, right? Is making that type of impact and knowing that it has ripple effects, right? It has ripple effects from the owner of that business, the founder, to, the employees, being able to make payroll, all the things that come along with being a business owner. And then those people have families as well. And so we make impact in a variety of ways. I think what's very impressive about the brand clarity that you're bringing is that you're putting it in an academic or didactic discussion type situation where people can digest it in their own time, but also then get into community with each other, right? And that
Absolutely.
that community, I think, is very powerful because sometimes it takes some humble pie or lowering your ego to be able to say, I need help. And then also accepting the help from the people that are willing to offer it. So
That's such a true thing because I obviously have years of experience. I grew up in the creative industry pitching for a living, as an agency creative director, chief creative officer, executive creative director. And my career was on the line for that on a regular basis. Like you would get your pitch rate and all those things. And I never realized how important that is to somebody who started a business, is so passionate about what they do, really technically expert, but doesn't know what to say about what they do in order to make sure that the contract that they sign is going to be something they can sustain. I did not realize how important that was till I started really working with diverse owned businesses and the supply chain and supplier diversity. And to be able to watch I might be the expert, quote unquote, of the moment in that conversation. But what we see in Clarity University is that it's the individuals talking to each other saying, look, I know what you said, about this being what you want to be promising, but it sounds to me like you're still really selling on commodity. And we could hear that conversation 100 times a day. And I could talk about it 100 times in 100 different ways. But when Jared hears Liz say that to him versus me, what really happens is that Liz starts to embrace the methodology because she's the one calling Jared out on it and saying, hey, this is what I heard. And if this is how it's supposed to be, and then Liz goes back and looks at her stuff and is like, well, wait a minute.
self-reflection.
Here's how I kick this up a notch.
It's really great to see people take it and run with it because I did not make this up, but I use it freely that no one of us is smarter than all of us put together.
I love it.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
love
And there's times where, and I'm sure Liz, you go through this too, and so do you, Jared, as experts, where people are like, well, do you have the answer? Are you the wizard? Are you the wizard? And you're like, well, I have some wizardry, but really like it's your business. And if you don't have a passion about that, and if those words don't come comfortably for you and you don't believe in that, it doesn't matter what research I give you. It doesn't matter what creative team I put on solving that for you. You're still going to feel at odds with what you're doing when you go to shake someone's hand, which is intimate. And so like watching people really come to terms with it and embrace it is an entirely different business than being a brand strategist. And that when you talk about what's the biggest growth, I'd say that's the biggest growth for me is to be the person who founded it, but not the person who's responsible for making it succeed. I'm there, I'm guiding it, I'm involved in it. My team is, people are growing, I'm getting to see people stretch and reach, but really you see each of the business owners or business leaders. We have people who aren't necessarily a business owner, but they're inside of different corporate ascension paths or changing, switching. You start to see them come into their own. And it's just like, wow, we as a marketing industry have kept that so, on our end and not made it theirs for so long. And that's where I just look at that and go, the power of my team that solved this. Cause I stubbornly was like, I'm not so sure that's going to work. That is, I think, the most powerful part about it. The most powerful thing I've done was not mess it up.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Brooke, for sharing this time with us. I actually believe at this point in time, I actually believe that we all need a brand retreat. Most of us need a brand retreat, and to get that clarity that you're describing, and certainly having your type of leadership and your team's leadership for that would be essential and very helpful to all of our businesses that we engage with, especially those that have come on this particular platform. We hear it all the time, and that's why we do this, is to bring them to light and to spotlight them. So thank you for sharing your knowledge. We hope to spotlight you as well, and we look forward to connecting you with some of our businesses that might be in need of your assistance. So thank you.
We will take care of them. We'll take care of you, and we have needs in return. So let's make sure that happens.
Thanks.
Love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you. Liz, I am excited to hear that not only was this a great opportunity to connect with Brooke, but you already had some ideas of ways that you can make some changes. So what are your thoughts? What did you learn? What stuck with you?
So I think what really stuck with me is that, we know a lot of agencies, we've interviewed a couple on this program, and everybody has like a special sauce. And I think Brooke's special sauce is really not only helping people communicate and clarify their brand, communicate their brand clearly, but use what they learn to make authentic connections. It's so important in this space. It's so important for small business owners. And I think that's really important to what she brings, that listening. It's not idle. It's not just to develop the product, but it's to really continue to grow and change these companies.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I would say thank you. This has been fantastic, and I certainly hope that we get a chance to connect offline as well as online through the chat and through the comments. We look forward to seeing this brand and this opportunity to connect grow even further. So I know we can do that with Brooke's help. So thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.